are you, Chris?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you. It's been a while since we last spoke. I cannot
Yeah.
remember when it was, but it was a while ago. So, how is everything with you?
Everything's going great. I'm always in a happy mood when the new record and the new music gets released, you know.
How
So
long does that happiness last?
it lasts when everyone loves our record, which right now we're getting a lot of good reviews. It's great. When you get the bad reviews, then it's over. Then you get in a bad mood.
Yeah. Do you like to read the reviews that people make of the records? Do you tend
Sure.
to, even the bad ones, you like to read?
Yeah, I do because sometimes it gives you a fresh perspective. Maybe I see the music in a very guarded manner, right? Because I create a lot of this music with the band. And so we're very personal to this. But it doesn't mean that it's great music or bad music. So sometimes it's nice to hear feedback,
Yeah.
but there's a danger. Remember, we have to always be true to ourselves. If people say, well, play disco, that's probably not the right thing for us.
Yeah. At the end of the day, music is a very personal thing for everyone. And
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Music is really its self-expression, right?
yeah,
It's like comes from your soul.
yeah,
So, it's hard for anybody to really analyze that because it's so personalized.
yeah. That's why I normally, and that's why I stopped doing album reviews, because every time I wrote about an album that I liked, and I like a lot of music, it was always positive, and I kind of lost that reviewer side because I cannot, I'm not a musician. I cannot say that you played the wrong note there or you should not play as fast. I cannot tell you that because that's your style. That's what you feel when you're playing. I cannot tell you to do something different when it's not you, you know?
Well, so obviously I've always been a guitar player that somehow I always get compared to the shredders, like the Ingves and the
Yeah.
Gilberts and people like that. And it's interesting, I've always realized there's that fine line of when it's too good, it's too perfect. It becomes like a machine. It's very mechanical.
Yeah.
And you've lost the soul. You've lost the human element. Why not just have a computer
Yeah.
play it for you? If you want perfection, complete perfection, let a computer do it.
Yeah.
Right. But now you've taken humanity and the soul out of the music. And music, remember, music is something that's very expressive. And as an artist, I get to express my internal rage, my happiness, my joy, or whatever through my instrument.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I think you need to think about when you hear music.
Yeah, because I remember, when I listened to Hendrix, just not the records, but the live, there was a lot of, I wouldn't say mistakes, but he was in the moment. He was playing something he was feeling, and the note might sound wrong, but it was what he's feeling at that moment. And
Yeah.
you cannot say that, oh, that's a big mistake. It's Jimi fucking Hendrix. I'm not going to tell him that he made a big mistake, or anyone for that matter, unless, it's really bad. But again, it's subjective to my ears, what is bad, what is good. And it's probably the same with you anyway.
Yeah. I've learned that, like, for example, when we did this new record, War Machine, I didn't care what critics or anybody thought. I wanted to play music that touched me emotionally, that allowed me to express my anger and my rage and my excitement and my euphoria. And then, of course, I have to make sure that works with the band,
Yeah.
right? So it's our personalized voice. And only until we are satisfied does that recording process end, right? We'll go back and forth into the studio and play the song 7 times until we feel like that's the magic. That's the Hendrix part of it.
Yeah.
It's got the fire and the perfection, but it's got the recklessness and but it's exciting and it's human.
Yeah, that's I was listening to War Machine, and it's such a great record from start to finish. And Rob's voice is still as good as it. I don't know what his secret is for having that amazing voice, but it sounds fucking amazing, still. And you're playing. I mean, I cannot say any mistake, or it's flawless on the record. And it's just not, even when you shred, there is a feeling there that you can sense. It's not those things that we see on Instagram or YouTube where a guy is playing super fast, but for what reason, we don't know. But he's playing fast and he's good. But I sense there is a purpose on every song on this record. And even the solos, the fast ones, there is a purpose to it. It's not there because it's just fast.
Yeah, listen, I'm just expressing myself. The guitar is my voice. It allows me to speak to you, the audience, and myself, right? And if I hear a melody in my head, or I hear a sequence of notes, whether it's fast or slow, that comes through my playing.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if I'm lucky, it touches you in a good way.
Yeah. And as I said, the album is, it's a belter from start to finish. There is not like a filler track, as we say. There's nothing there. Everything was good. Do you record all the songs for this record, or do you have like leftovers? How was the whole thing? How did it work?
Sure. We did have a few leftovers. The one thing I'm not a big fan of is albums that are too long.
Yeah.
Right. I don't like albums with 15 or 20 songs because it's too much to digest.
Yeah.
I've always, to be honest, if I could get away with it, I go back to the way we used to do it, where the records are 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
It's just perfect. It's just enough to capture all that information, not all of a sudden become bored and just inundated with too much.
Yeah.
So, but on this record, yeah, we had more songs. We could have continued to go on, but these songs that we put on the record just seem to fit. Yeah. They seem to complement one another. They seem to express where we are today as musicians, as a band, as a lyricist for Rob. It just seemed perfect. So, but the answer is yes, we did have extra.
Yeah. When did you guys start working on the songs for the album?
Back in the age when the dinosaurs were still roaming the earth. We've been doing this. Sorry, glasses. Can't see. We've been doing this record. I would probably say, I started writing it right after the tour in Japan for the previous record, Nature of the Beast, which is right as the pandemic was about to start.
Yeah.
Right. And so during the pandemic, we had a lot of time, to really practice and improve ourselves as musicians and artists. Right. Mm-hmm. And there was also a lot of stuff going on in the world. So to answer your question, it's probably around the pandemic. Okay. We start writing the record, but then we keep going, and so since then we've had the pandemic. We have 2 world wars that have broken out, right? A lot of things globally happening. And so a lot of that information affected the way we were playing and the way Rob was writing as a lyricist,
Yeah.
So it was, anyways, to answer your question, we started around the pandemic time.
Do the songs change much throughout the process? Probably some more than others, I would say. But as a norm, do they change much when you start like with a melody, you have a riff or something, and then you work around that? Does it change much? Like when you put lyrics, you have to change the key or the melody or something. How does all that work normally with you?
It always starts with a riff. Once I have a really cool guitar riff, that riff usually inspires me to go into a verse melody. And then that verse melody takes me into maybe a pre-chorus into the chorus. And now we have a rough template or a rough structure of how the song is going to get built. And usually if it's a really good riff and I'm really lucky, a lot of times that song comes to me within the first 20 or 30 minutes. And now you have the outline, right, of the riff, the verses, the pre-choruses, the choruses, eventually into the bridge, eventually into the guitar solo, and then the big finale. So usually that's how the songs come to us, but it always must start with a great riff.
Yeah. And when you show the idea to Rob and he has to put lyrics in it, do you normally have to change much the arrangement to fit the lyrics? Because, he
Not
said like, hey, I have a cool idea, let's say. What do you think?
It never happens that way because I've worked with Rob since 1985. Remember I told you when the dinosaurs were
Yeah.
roaming the earth? That's the dinosaur walking. So because Rob and I kind of grew up together playing music, we had to do cover bands when we were teenagers or really young. So we learned from the same sources and we learned how to write in a similar manner. And so when I'm writing this music, when I go into a verse, I already can hear what Rob is going to sing. Natural instinct from working with him for so many years. And so, I hear that melody. And then what I'll do is once I have the rough song demo, right, which is a rough recording, just the idea, I'll send it to Rob and I'll say, Rob, this is what I hear you singing in my head. Sometimes he goes, yeah, that's perfect. And he builds on it, gets even better. Other times he goes, no, I have a better idea. And he'll do something completely different, which is much better than the original idea. Right. And that's how we've always worked. And the same thing when James comes in, and on this record, Paul Bostaph, everybody comes in and plays their own parts the way they play naturally.
Yeah. And how was to have Paul Bostaph? Because he comes from a more thrash background. Obviously, time with Slayer, comes to mind, obviously playing fast stuff. How did he fit in with you? I mean, he seems to be a perfect fit on this record, to be honest. I mean, I love his drumming on this album.
Yeah, people have been saying it's one of his best records. Paul killed it on this record.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really into the band, he's touring with us. We're going to go to Japan. He's coming with us. He's an interesting drummer. He's well known for the thrash music, but he's actually a great rock drummer, so he can play all the really fast, intricate drum fills that we need. That's often in Impellitteri music. Yeah. He can also do the really fast double bass drumming. But he also plays with power, and he plays with a swing that gives the music a feel. Now, yes, a lot of our music is like power metal, speed metal, but when I say you can almost dance to it because of Paul, it has that feeling, that groove, that swing, and that's something that most thrash drummers don't seem to be able to do, but Paul can.
Yeah, but you were talking about like more power speed metal, but let's go back to Stand in Line in 1988, the record with that you released. It was more 80s AOR music. You had Graham Bonnet, you had Pat Thorpe on the record, you had Chuck Wright as well. Everything. I was listening to it today because I was listening to War Machine and I was like, let me go check the other Impellitteri records. And I saw Stand in Line and it's like, I haven't heard this album in fucking ages. And all of a sudden, when I start listening Stand in Line, the chorus, the memories that came, from that era, from listening to the record the first time, all those big melodies that the 80s were known for. I was like, it's fucking amazing. But it changed quite a bit now of what you do with what you did back then. I mean, the guitar solos were fire there, but it was a more AOR sound. But I guess it was the late 80s, so you had to do that.
That's, it's funny. I was wondering what your interpretation was going to be, because Stand in Line and War Machine are completely different.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. If you listen to the very first Impellitteri record, which is called the Impellitteri Black EP, 4 songs, has songs like Lost in the Rain, Burning. Listen to that music and now listen to War Machine. You see, it's the same band almost. It's the same type of music. The difference is War Machine, much bigger production, right? Much more expensive record, big studios, right? Yeah. Where the Impellitteri Black EP, we still did it in the big studio, but we did it live. So it sounded like a concert versus a real album. Yeah. But the music style is very similar.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, but that's a good interpretation because Stand in Line, remember, also it's a different singer.
Yeah, Graham Bonnet.
Graham Bonnet's in there. And so we had to write, at least I thought we had to write in a direction that would be more in vein of what Graham was known for, like Rainbow.
Yeah.
Right. or Michael Schenker Group, or even Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Right. So we wrote Stand in Line more in that direction. And still trying to find a unique sound, right? Something that might be a little bit different.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what Stand in Line was about. And then years later, I did a record called System X with Graham Bonnet in Japan only. And it was a pure metal record, and it's cool. And a lot of our fans love that record,
For me, listening to Graham Bonnet and seeing how, with how many bands and artists he played, I mean, it's a career that a lot of people only can dream of. And I mean, he done it all. Anyway, he's a great singer. But Stand in Line, I love that record. And Pat Torpey obviously is not with us anymore. But how was to work with him in the studio for that album, for instance?
For Pat Torpey?
Yeah.
Well, Pat Torpey, I mean, he was like the father figure of that record. Pat was the drummer and also almost like a producer. He really guided us. I was very young. I was probably 22. I think maybe when I met Graham, 20, 21, somewhere around there. So when we did the record, I was, in my youth. Yeah. And Pat was I think Pat was somewhere between 9 or 12 years older. So was Graham and Chuck. So everybody was older than me. But Pat was a really great source of inspiration and kind of helped guide that, he'd find the perfect tempos, maybe change a bridge or a chorus. He was an amazing musician, and he loved to play. Yeah. Even years after, when he joined Mr. Big, when he wasn't touring, when Impellitteri would go to do the rehearsals for our touring, we'd work at this place called Mate's Rehearsal Studio, and Pat would always be there. Yeah. So one of my fondest times is when Pat came in the room one day and started playing with us. Quiet. It was us at rehearsal. Yeah. And he sat behind the drums and played. It was great.
Yeah. And with War Machine, you mentioned Japan. What do you attribute Impellitteri and normally great guitar players having such a huge success in Japan? I mean, they have a great taste. For a start, Japanese people have a great taste in music. But what do you attribute to that success, in Japan more than probably the rest of the world, in a way, for, guitar virtuosos?
I think because the Japanese are very well educated, that they're always looking for the best of the best. So whether it's science, or even music, yeah, they're trying to find, artists that are very melodious. Great melody is very important in Japan. That's why you have K-pop, right? So melody is incremental to finding an audience that will be receptive. And then as far as my guitar technique, sure, a lot of the classical influence and the shredding and, by the way, when I started playing fast, shred, the word didn't exist for guitar players. Yeah. That's something you did with a potato or a piece of cheese. I don't know where that came from. But anyway, so, the fast speed playing in metal, right? Yeah. And I guess because we got lucky enough that we did it very well. Yeah. Right. We were playing, we were doing a really great job at being musicians. We were spending 12 hours a day practicing, and that came through our performance and our playing and our technical ability. And I think that partially won over Japan. But remember, Japan, it's not just, look, there's a million great guitar players today. Yeah. And a million of them, no one knows who they are in Japan. That's not what it's about. It's about creating your own sound, making great music that's relatable, not just to musicians, but to people that aren't musicians, right? Yeah. And having meaning, and I think that's the magic of Impellitteri. We always, first and foremost, as I said earlier, we try to write a great riff, whether it's mechanical or simplistic or whatever, it doesn't matter, as long as it's great. And our Japanese audience have always gravitated towards a great riff. Yeah. And then, yes, Rob's vocal and a great chorus that they can all sing along to like an anthem. Yeah. They love that. And then if we get lucky and I do a good job, my guitar solos push it over the top. And that's where I think they've embraced us. Yeah.
And, throughout the years, obviously you learn to know when a melody is good. Do you ever doubt your instincts when you're writing a melody, you ever riff? Do you ever doubt, like, is this good enough? Or is this, what I want. Do you ever question that a lot when you're writing?
No, no, because, and by the way, I do play riffs that I go, is this really good enough? Or a solo. And guess what? It doesn't make the record. It's because what you just said comes to fruition,
Yeah.
It's basically, if I play a riff and I go, this is great, I know it's great. I believe in it,
Yeah. Yeah,
so that's the way I would answer that.
yeah. I mean, I guess I've talked with musicians, and sometimes they say they work on a song for so long that the song changed completely from what it started to
Yeah.
what it ended. And normally that little idea or that riff that they started was way more exciting than what they ended up with.
Yeah. I've done that. I've done that in the past where I've written music and I kept working on it and trying to perfect it and make it better and better and better. And eventually I think I ruined it. So I don't do that anymore. Now I let the song, the adventure of my creation, whatever that forces that comes through me when I'm playing,
Yeah.
I submit to it and let it take me in whatever direction it wants to go.
Yeah.
And that's literally how our songs get written.
Yeah. And that comes with experience, I guess. I think it's more when you believe in what you're doing, when you know what you're doing more, that you're able to go with it instead of, working too much on it
Yeah.
to the point of ruining something. And, you're talking about the guitar playing. You still have to exercise a lot daily. For you, it's mandatory to grab the guitar every day, even if it's just for an hour or two. Do you have do you have a routine for it?
Just I practice. Like right now, as I'm talking to you, I just got nervous and went, "Hey, man, have I played my guitar yet today?" And the answer is yes. I've already played this morning. It's for me. I do have a routine. I just play the guitar every day to sustain muscle memory.
Okay.
And for the non-guitar player, muscle memory is just when you do something over and over in repetition, right? You repeat something over and over again. Eventually, your hands or your body or mouth, it just does the action or the movement without thinking about it.
Yeah. And that comes with songs as well. Like a song that you haven't played in a long time. Is it when you start, does the muscle memory starts kicking in, or it can take some time for it to actually kick in?
The song is really what you're hearing internally, right? The muscle memory is just the communication between the brain and the hands.
Yeah.
Right? Just making sure the hand can do the complexity. So if I play a really fast, complicated solo, I need muscle memory to be developed. So when I hear it here, I can do it with this and this.
Yeah, cool. And you talked about Japan. Yeah. And you're talking about Japan and playing in Japan. Apart from Japan, you plan to play in US, Europe? I know it's complicated. Everything is so fucking expensive these days. Is there any plans to come to Europe to play some shows, festivals? Is there any idea for it?
Yeah, we have an agent that we're working on right now with Europe, and we're trying to get onto the larger big festivals in Europe. We have been offered some tours of Europe, so we're looking at that now. I would love to do all the countries in Europe.
Yeah.
I think it'd be great. We're definitely doing dates in the United States again. We're definitely doing dates in obviously Japan. That's always first. Yeah. But it'd be great. I'd love to play, Portugal. That would be awesome.
Yeah. We have to work on that. Try to find a way to bring you guys here. I don't know what's so complicated. I know what is complicated. It's to probably find the proper routing of a tour that wouldn't be expensive to the promoter and for you guys as well. You have to be like to play Portugal, you probably need to play Spain, probably a couple shows or 3 shows in Spain to be viable to play in Portugal. So It's not always that simple. I know fans, they say, why band X or Z are not playing Portugal? Because we are at the S of Europe. It's complicated for a band to travel so long and, end up in Portugal or something. But yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
look at bands like Iron Maiden. I mean, Iron Maiden does such a great job of reaching so many countries and so many fans, and they have a massive, expensive production, and they were able to do it.
yeah,
The reality is for us, it's really finding a promoter that one wants to bring us to the country, right? Because without the promoter, we don't get invited, we can't come,
yeah,
right? The promoters are the ones that have the connection with the big venues.
yeah,
And then also the problem is a lot of times when new bands, and technically for us in Portugal, we would be considered a new band because we've never played Portugal.
yeah,
Now, we played Spain about, I don't know, it was about 4 years ago, somewhere around there, maybe a little longer. We played Rockfest Barcelona. We actually
yeah,
played with Iron Maiden and a bunch of other bands. And it was amazing. I mean, you could just tell the hunger for the band Impellitteri in Spain. They loved it and it was great. And so we know we have an audience there. So, but I don't know a lot about Portugal. I'm sure we probably have some fans there.
yeah,
And it'd be great to reach them, but it's really up to the promoters and would they put a venue in big enough for our production?
yeah,
Because a lot of times you do get offers, but they're these small little clubs
yeah,
that hold 400 or 500 people. It's hard to fly all the way across the ocean,
yeah,
and have 15 people that you're paying, your crew and your soundman and your lighting,
yeah.
and then and if you're lucky enough, pyro, but you understand, right?
Yeah, I do understand. Yeah, yeah.
So,
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. It's when a band needs to bring all their techs, their crew, it takes time, takes money, and you need to have a proper promotion as well around it, so you don't end up playing in front of half a dozen people in a big venue. You know,
right.
you know, it's complicated. We have promoters here that are willing to take a chance, but I mean, they don't want to lose money either. So
Of course not. I understand.
they go for the safe. They always go for the safer bet. So I think in your case, it's a case of you playing a couple shows in Spain and finding the right promoter to bring you along for that journey. That's,
Yeah, of course, of course.
So we'll work on it. I will badger the promoters about it. At least, we're doing this interview, so they're going to listen anyway. So they might raise a bit more of an interest. And, that's why I do this as well. It's always to try to bring awareness of certain artists that are not Iron Maiden or Metallica,
Yeah.
to, raise a bit the stock to see if they have a chance. And for you as a musician, I mean, you never played Portugal, but that's probably not on the bucket list yet. Do you have a bucket list of things you would like to do or you'd like to have done as a musician that you haven't done yet? Do you have a list?
Well, you always do. I mean, the idea really is I would like Impellitteri to be as big as Iron Maiden. And I'm not kidding. I mean, I would love to see that come to fruition because, look, I see these bands tour and every year, like if you think about when all bands play together, it's usually at festivals, right? And we've done the big metal festivals, Sweden Rock Festival we did with Black Sabbath and Journey and Impellitteri. And we've done that big stuff. And we go over just as good as the big bands do, right? Sometimes we go over better because the fans have been dying to see us for years versus, I love Maiden, or a band like Anthrax.
Yeah.
Every freaking year on the festival, same band, over. It's like, all right, been there, done that. Do you want to see something new and fresh and hungry?
Yeah.
And, that's kind of what we're always trying to tell the promoters. Give your fans something new.
Yeah.
Something exciting versus been there, done that, seen it. Okay, whatever.
And I mean, just to wrap it up, it's funny that you mentioned Anthrax because they played a lot in Europe and I've seen them, I don't know how many times in recent years. And annoys me so much that their set list is virtually the same as it was 5 or 6 years ago. And I go to see their show and I'm like, sake, not again, same songs.
Yeah.
And I like Anthrax, but virtually like for the last 5 or 6 years that I've seen them, like every year, the set list has been virtually the same.
Yeah.
And
I'll tell you something funny about set list. So this morning, our president of our record company in the United States and Europe just contacted me. So we are the number eight. Now, remember, United States of America is a very, very big music market.
yeah,
We're the 8th best-selling hard rock band right now in the United States, most added.
yeah.
Right. To, in other words, and we also, on the charts for metal, we just went number 1 and number 2 in the United States for metal. And then Japan, we just found out we just went number 1 for metal.
Awesome.
So it kind of tells you, I mean, especially like promoters, it's like,
hello,
what else do you want? Exactly. It's like we play and they come, it's just, but that's it. We just got to when the promoters, see this, maybe they'll realize, hey, maybe it's time to bring Impellitteri versus another Anthrax with the same set. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. I think normally I say, I don't want to keep you longer. What I say, it's when you're a promoter, you need to take a chance. You need to take a risk sometimes because it's going to be worth it. Because a band like Impellitteri that we haven't seen in Portugal, and with the quality that you guys have, I mean, you at Paul Bostaph, you have Rob on vocals. I mean, hello.
I don't even think it, because I'd be arrogant to say, oh, look at me, we're great. I don't do that. But if you even look at it, if you want legendary names and status, think about the people that have been part of the Impellitteri band over the years.
Yeah.
Right. So Graham Bonnet was a legend with Rainbow. Right. I mean, they sold 10, 20 million records, something, maybe even more. Dave the Beast Spitz was the only other bass player in Black Sabbath besides Geezer Butler. He played with us. We had Glenn Sobel, who now he's been playing with Alice Cooper for 10 years, and he plays with Johnny Depp and Joe Perry from Aerosmith. Yeah. Before that, it was Ken Mary, who was Alice Cooper's drummer, right? Now we have Paul from Slayer. Look, and you wouldn't believe the people that have asked me to join the band. Some very famous people, and it's like, if you just want credibility, well, there you go, promoters.
Exactly.
We definitely have legendary people in this band.
Yeah, and the music, listening to the albums, the music speaks for itself as well. The music is great. Listen to it. You cannot go wrong with it. So yeah, we'll work on it. Badger promoters. Let's see what they say. Anyway, Chris, thank you very much for your time. All the best for Impellitteri. Hopefully, next year, 2026, we can bring you guys here to Portugal or Spain, because
we're next year is 2025.
Yeah.
And we're going out in 25, definitely. So,
I'm always, I normally say, like, if you don't come next year, maybe the following year. Always have to keep a positive mind, anyway.
Yeah. Someday we get there. I would love to play Portugal. Just tell the promoters we're open. We'll entertain offers, man. We would love to come.
All right, Chris, thank you very much for your time. All the best. War Machine is a beast of a record. Great album. And hopefully we can watch you guys play it live here. All right?
Yeah. Awesome, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, and hope to see you soon. All right? Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.